Welcome to r/Stories About Kevin. A Kevin is someone who consistently or greatly shows a complete lack of intelligence through incompetence of social and societal norms, or is purposefully antagonistic in their poor decision making. From Sovietic Duck. So that happened in January 2020, before the corona crisis. I was 17, female, and in Dublin with other students from my high school and some teachers. When lunchtime arrived, we went to a Burger King, take our orders, and went upstairs to eat. We were having fun when a French song has been played in the restaurant. We began to sing, not too loud, but the people at the tables around us could easily hear us. And here enters Kevina. She was maybe 20 to 23 years old and turned back to say something in the lines of, "LOL, you're singing it wrong." Me and my friends looked at each other like, "No, we're not." And Kevina proceeds to explain to us our imaginary mistake. I tried to tell her that she was wrong, explaining that we were French, and she told us, "Well, I'm studying French in my college, and I can assure you that you're wrong." We tried to debate during maybe 20 minutes, and she just kept whining, "No, you're wrong!" At this point, we were all kinda peed, so I just took my phone and showed her the lyrics on Google, saying, "Maintenant, ça suffit les conneries." Now, enough with the bullcrap. She looked at me, confused, and asked me what language I just spoke. I told her, well, French. And plot twist, turned out she was actually studying Spanish, but she was absolutely convinced it was French. Yep, she really was a Kevina. From Calablair. Back when I was a freshman in high school, I had the misfortune of dating not only a Kevin, but also a butthole. I think because I couldn't tell when he was being oblivious or when he was just being mean, I stayed with him for far too long. He didn't react well to the breakup. There was a knife involved, but that's not the story I'm here to tell. I shared a freshman health class with my ex, Kevin. We had a very cool teacher who had a box at the front of the class where students could drop in questions anonymously if they were too embarrassed to ask them out loud. All you had to put on the slip was which period you were in so she could be sure to answer them for the correct class. So a few weeks after the breakup, our teacher was answering questions out of the box. She pulled one out and her face twisted up a bit, but she forged ahead and read out loud, "Is there a difference between an organism and an orgasm?" The class erupted into laughter, at which point Kevin, wanting to get credit for the laugh, stood up and said, "That's my question." Kevin didn't quite grasp the concept of an anonymous question, and also claimed credit for questions such as, "How do you get the condom over your balls too? If she jumps up and down right after, is it true she can't get pregnant? And, is mine too big?" All I can say is, bullet dodged. From Another Disaster. About a year ago, a guy who I know who is a complete Kevin came on a hike in our sort of scouts group. We went off and had a great time. On the second morning we were discussing mud, and Kevin was shocked to discover that sand plus water equals mud. Just wanted to clarify, I'm aware that sand and water doesn't make mud. The specific sand we happened to be in was actually quite close to dirt, rather than sand. I was just quoting what Kevin said. Later on in the trip, we had a mission. We had an hour to disguise ourselves and hide ourselves in the area before our leader would come looking for us. Last one found won a prize. Kevin tries to find a place to hide, eventually gets tired, lies down on a rock in plain sight, and falls asleep. Naturally, he was found first. After the trip was over, we got on the bus and basically chatted about everything. At some point the discussion turns to abortions. Kevin suddenly announces that abortions are when you give birth to the baby and just kill it as soon as it comes out, with a knife. After we all stopped laughing, we explained what an abortion actually is. He was shocked. This is also the guy who showed up late to school one day, claiming that the reason he was late was because he was staring at the stairs. From Qbert. My brother is a Kevin. I have a friend who is also a Kevin. They liked each other because they were kindred spirits. One day, my brother Kevin decided he was going to make a pool in the back of his truck because of the hot summer. Tarp, truck bed, water. All the things you need for a pool. Friend Kevin had no qualms about this idea. He thought it was even cooler when brother Kevin decided to take the show on the road. We knew enough to follow the dual Kevins. We forgot to film it. Brother Kevin took a corner since he had this sweet turbo diesel. He peeled out. Physics almost tossed friend Kevin out of the bed and onto the concrete. The show was not over, not by a mile. Coincidentally, we had about a mile to go before we got back to the starting point. Brother Kevin slammed on the brakes. Once again, physics won. Slammed friend Kevin against the back of the cab. Water poured up the cabin inside open windows. Remember, hot summer, and Brother Kevin liked to blast his music and show off. Thankfully no one died and some physics was learned the hard way by two Kevins. Happy Kevin spotting. From Deacon Playback. I teach at the college level. Years back I taught a freshman/sophomore class that met every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. One Wednesday I gave a chapter exam. It was easy. I had a word bank of 25 terms and the concepts at the top of the test, and the 20 questions of the exam were different definitions or descriptions of those terms. All the students had to do was match the corresponding term from the word bank to its definition or description, with 5 unused terms left over in the word bank. All the correct answers were right there. That Wednesday, almost half of my class was missing. There was a university function going on and no one thought to mention it to me. This was before emails were prevalent. I gave the test anyway. Kevin was there and took the test. He answered all 20 and got all of them wrong. A 0. That Friday I told the whole class that those who took the test Wednesday did not have to show up for class Monday. Those who missed the test because of the school function were to show up and take the test Monday. As I let class out, I called Kevin up to me and told him that as far as I was concerned, he was not there on Wednesday. He was to show up and take the test Monday. He looked at it for a second and said, "Huh? Oh, thank you, Mr. Deacon." I didn't even bother making a new version of the test. It was just the leftover copies of the original test. Kevin took the test Monday again. Again, he answered all 20. And again, he got all 20 wrong. And he answered all but maybe 2 or 3 of them differently. When I handed them back out, I gave him both of his. At the end of semester, Kevin tried to bribe me with $100 to give him an A in the class. From Deleted. Kevin, 25 male, is an acquaintance of mine, and I honestly don't know how he's managed to maintain a functioning place in society. These are the stories I've heard about Kevin, and I wish I had more. He once bought a brand new motorcycle for his 18-year-old friend. Not a cosign, he bought it for his friend, who I might add, didn't know how to ride. Then was surprised when the friend never made a single payment, and blew out the clutch twice. Kevin thought he could simply return to the dealership he bought from and that they would take over the payments. He texted a mutual friend of ours once and asked, "When the little genie bottle lights up, does that mean the car needs more coolant?" A few months ago, he complained on Facebook that all of his online accounts had been hacked. All of them. Turns out he used the same easy-to-guess password for everything, from his bank account to TurboTax, Facebook to Amazon. All of it. It took him a long time to sort that out, as whoever did it ordered a ton of stuff, made large payments on credit cards, etc. He once backed into someone's motorcycle and knocked it over. When the cops showed up, Kevin laughed at the guy whose motorcycle he hit because the man didn't have insurance. His exact words to the guy were, "Looks like you're screwed." Turns out Kevin didn't know that his comprehensive insurance covers the damage when he hit someone, and he was charged with improper backing. Kevin posted a rant on Facebook about motorcycle safety and how everyone needs to have a first aid kit with them at all times to assist a downed biker if need be. He also said it's important to have a dash cam. Someone commented and asked if he had a first aid kit and dash cam, and he replied, "No first aid kit, and the dash cam I have is showing some kind of error message, so it doesn't work." From user The Weird Fox. Right off the bat, I was the Kevin in this situation, but I can look back and laugh. This happened years ago when I was visiting my Uncle Dave's house for the weekend. One thing you need to know is that Uncle Dave built his own house and decided to add a fireplace. When I come over, we would have movie nights and I would light a fire and snuggle up with 2, now 3 chocolate labs. For those wondering, the dogs' names are Michu, Daisy May, and Olive. So that night was a Friday the 13th and we were watching movies as usual. I had been having a little too much fun with the fire and doing some really dumb things, such as lighting paper airplanes on fire and shoveling hot embers and burying them with ash in the metal ash bucket. Remember that. Before someone says something about Uncle Dave being irresponsible, he would have beat my butt if he found out, and he was asleep while I was being a Kevin. Around midnight it happened. Remember those hot embers I scooped into the ash bucket? They had a chemical reaction, or something, and for some reason, smoke was coming out of the bucket. My Kevin brain thought, water plus something burning equals no more fire. For some reason, I went to the kitchen sink and filled a glass of water and dumped it into the ash bucket. Big mistake. When I dumped the water into the ash, there wasn't just a little bit of smoke anymore. It began billowing black smoke like a locomotive. At that point, I haven't woken up Uncle Dave yet, and I was prancing around mentally freaking out on what to do. I didn't need to wake him up. The smoke detector did, and he woke up to smoke everywhere and the sight of me dancing around. Uncle Dave ran for the ash bucket, and right when he chucked it outside, fire erupted out of it, and would have set fire to a bunch of flammable items, setting the house on fire. With that out of the way, he was grade A peed off at me, and he was screaming at me on what the hell I was thinking, and why I didn't do anything. I remember going to bed in tears that night. I deserved that. Now normally this is where my story ends, but nope, I somehow made it worse on myself. When the rest of my family found out, they were all understandably livid, and my mum wanted me to apologise. I did, and in my Kevin mind I thought smiling would help lessen my punishment. I forgot the reason, but to them I probably looked like the little poo who was proud of myself. I was not proud. Everyone was disappointed in me. My mum did not trust me at all, and for half a year I was grounded from anything that gave me happiness, like toys, video games, and my iPad. The worst part was having to sleep on the floor in my mum's room and listen to her snore, because she didn't trust me enough to sleep in my own bed. I deserved all of that. Today, we all look back on that and laugh. I am no longer a Kevin, and I am now studying to become a clinical psychologist. Anyway, I really hope you enjoy my story of Kevinness, and may the Kevin be with you. And that was r/storiesaboutkevin. Make sure to leave a like on this video, and also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you never miss any of my future uploads.